Hey y'all. All right, let's get started with our examples and our initial practice for predictions with compound and without compound probability. Number one, the probability that a wristband is defective is 1 out of 2. That's a probability, by the way. In a case of 840 wristbands, how many would be defective? Okay, so we are predicting the amount that will be defected. Predictions mean to set up a proportion. Okay, I'm going to write it over here. You guys just write it wherever you need to, okay? So let's set up a word ratio first. So my word ratio, remember the total is always on the bottom. And then on top will be D for defective, okay? So first I'm going to take my probability given and plug it in. Then I need to put an X and this 840 somewhere. 840 is the total number of wristbands in the case, so totals go on the bottom, which means my X is going to go on top. Okay, this is a pretty easy proportion to solve. Remember that you always cross multiply and then divide by the number left over. So 840 times 1 is 840. Make sure that you're pausing and writing the stuff down as often as you need to. 840 divided by 2. Excuse me. 2 goes into 840 how many times? Some of you maybe will do this just using your big, beautiful brains, okay? But 2 goes into 8 4 times, 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 0. So the answer is 420 defective wristbands. Go ahead and pause that and ensure you have it all written down. If you need to rewind it to see how I got to my answer, please do so. Today is the first day that we're doing these predictions in a complex way, so make sure that you understand it, please. All right, next, let's go to number 2. Number 2 says, based on a sample survey, a company claims that 75% of their customers are satisfied with their product. Out of 1,176, how many would you predict? Wow, it even says prediction. How nice of these people. To be satisfied. Goodness gracious, y'all. I haven't drank my coffee yet. Give me grace. All right. So first, if you didn't remember that predictions mean proportions, you also have a percent. Percents also mean proportions, okay? So we're going to set up a proportion. Okay. Now, when we used to deal with percents, you always put a percent over 100, okay? So I'm going to put my percent over 100. Now we need to figure out, where does this number go? It's a big number, so we should assume it's a total, which goes in the bottom, but also the problem literally says out of 1,176. If I said 1 out of 2, the 2 would be on the bottom, right? Well, since this says out of 1,176, that means that 1,176 needs to go on the bottom, which leaves my X in my blank. This is a little bit more of a complicated proportion to solve because our numbers are not as easy, but you're still going to solve it the same way. You always multiply across, even if it's this way, and then divide by the number left over. Okay, so we're going to do 1,176 times 75. I want you guys to try to multiply this by yourselves and then check my math, because y'all know I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Okay, so go ahead, pause, multiply, and then check my math, okay? All right. Holy cow, y'all. I got a huge number. I hope y'all got it too. I got 88,200. Okay. So now we need to divide that by 100. I'm going to show you a trick. And remember with tricks, if you don't understand them, do them the traditional way. You can definitely do 88,200 divided by 100. But there's also a trick, okay? If you're dividing something by 100, you can cancel out the 100s at the end, okay? I'm sorry, the zeros at the end. So here's a 0 pair I can cancel. Here's a 0 pair I can cancel. Now I have 882 divided by 1, which is just 882. Okay? Pause and make sure that you understand this. If you need to rewind it, please do. I need to make sure that y'all remember percentages, but also how to multiply big numbers and divide by 100 if you're not using tricks. All right, guys, we're almost done. Y'all are doing awesome. Number 3 says Jake made 14 out of 20 free throws. That is a probability. About how many of the next 30 would you expect him to make? This word expect means that it is a prediction. Prediction means proportion. Okay? So my word ratio total goes on the bottom, always, always, always. On top, I'm going to put a check mark, okay, because that's how many he makes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my probability. So it gave me a probability already, 14 out of 20. Now I need to fill in my other side, which is going to contain the total and the x. It's asking about the next 30, so that means it's my total, which means my x goes on top. These are pretty easy numbers, so I'm going to let you solve this by yourself, okay? Remember that you're multiplying across first and then dividing by the number left, okay? So go ahead and pause and solve that. All right, next one. This one has data. Whenever I see data, I know that it's going to be experimental probability. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in the corner so we remember that it's experimental because of this data. Let's read it. It says, Talia plays a board game with a friend. She uses a frequency table to record the results for each roll of a standard die. Hint, we did this yesterday. Okay, if Talia and her friend continue to play the game and roll the die 65 times, how many times would she expect for her and her friend to roll a 1 or a 2? Okay, so I know that I'm going to set up a proportion because it said expect, and that's a prediction. I'm going to set up a word ratio to keep us organized. And on top, it says 1 or a 2, so I'm going to put 1 and 2. Okay? Now, does it tell me how many times she actually rolled this die? It does not. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to add up all the tally marks total. So go ahead and pause and add them all up and then check my math. All right, y'all, I got 26. Okay, I got 26 as my total. So that's my total for my data. Okay, so that's my first total for my first probability. Now I'm talking about a 1 or a 2, so I want you to circle the 1 and the 2, okay? So it says I rolled a 1 4 times and a 2 2 times. So how many times did I roll a 1 or a 2? 6. Okay. On the other side of my proportion should be an x in the new total. The new total is 65. And my x is going to go on top. Now, there are multiple ways to do this, and I'm going to let you do it the way that you want to, okay? you can first simplify your original probability. You can do that first, and then you can cross multiply and divide. Or you can go ahead and cross multiply and divide now and then simplify. Okay? So whichever way that you want to do it is the way I want you to do it, because everybody learns differently and everything is different for people, okay? So do this the way that you want to do it. Pause it, solve it, and remember, now that you're done with all of your notes for today, I want you to put all of your answers into GoFormative. The link is in Schoology. And then whenever you're done, the rest of the instructions for today will be on the board. Okay, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Good job, guys.